When we first start talking to someone and engaging them in building their application, budget and time and cost is always a concern. And the people we work with, they're concerned about the viability of their product and how do they know that they're building the right thing with the budget they have and that their product is going to be successful. So a question we often get is how can we spend less money or do this quicker or faster, but just still prove or ensure a higher success rate for my product idea? And so we think this is a great question, and our process really hones in on trying to reduce the amount of time, cost, and effort at every stage to get your app built. I'm sure you're familiar with the old methodology, waterfall at this point, decades old, where people would design an app and come up with the requirements for a product for months, years, and then once it was fully done, it would get developed afterwards. And then by the time it got developed, it's years over budget and over timeline, and someone else has already built it, or the idea was a bad idea in the first place, and all this time's gone by. And so now we do agile. And so we would say, even looking at agile and trying to iterate on your product, and you have minimum viable products and MVPs and all this, the way to really think about it is you can more easily iterate and change features the sooner you are in the process. So the easiest way to try to ensure the viability of your product is to spend more time up front in the designing, sketching, wireframing phase before you get into high fidelity and visual phase, before you get into development. Because once you have put something all the way through development and you want to change something, you have to redo that whole process again. If you're still only in the wireframing phase and you find something is not really working, then you're able to redo just that one part of sort of that process and only iterate on that one piece before you go all the way back through. So using a lot of modern design tools, InVision, Figma, Adobe XD, they all have the ability for you to take your wireframes and your mockups, create clickable prototypes out of them. So to users, they might seem almost like real apps, even though they're just mockups that they're looking at, because they've been connected together and you can click around on them, define hotspots in a flow. And so you can start to actually put these in front of users and do user testing before you even start to bring things up to high fidelity. So if you're doing low fidelity wireframe user testing, you can start to catch using observational research and a bunch of other sort of methodologies around, oh, this feature, users don't actually seem to be too interested in it, or it was not clear to this user what this functionality was, and maybe we should rethink it. Or it wasn't obvious that they should be clicking on these buttons, or that this thing would trigger this other thing to happen. So now you're all of a sudden given, through user testing, a bunch of information, and you can just rechange and tweak the wireframes based on the feedback you got before you even bring them up to high fidelity, before you even send them off to development. You could even iterate a few times in wireframes and low fidelity testing, do multiple batches of user testing before you see it all the way through. And if you have a full functioning product already, you can repeat this process with new features and parts of your app and just continuously be working on designs and iterating on the designs, getting user feedback before you put it into the product. Of course, there's some feedback that would be hard to get from user testing without a real app in the hands of a user, but there's a lot that you can get sort of upfront and ensure that the viability of your product is there.